Well, welcome to a special edition of The Pulse of Spokane. Kent Adams here. Perhaps you've been on Facebook recently or seen some of the news broadcasts and so forth. There's been a little bit of a controversy, and we're going to deal with that today. Jenny Graham was covered by Daniel Walters, let me get it straight, of the Inlander. I've got my opinions about that newspaper, but we'll talk about that at another time. But we're going to talk about some of the controversy that's come from that in this very exclusive Spokane Talks and KHQ interview. Jenny Graham, you're up for re-election in the 6th District. I remember when you ran 2 years ago, right? You know sometimes how to make news.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have everybody's attention right now.
You do. Okay. You called Daniel Walters, left a message for him after an article that wasn't very favorable to you and wasn't maybe even truthful, okay? I don't know if you know this, but that happens in the media these days an awful lot. You're part of that, being a Republican and being on the right, to be targeted by the left out there. That's just what's going on, okay? But you called him a lying piece of shit in a message you left. What were you thinking?
Well, Kent, the bottom line is that I wasn't thinking. I was feeling.
Okay.
I was feeling shock.
Yes.
I was feeling an immense pain, hurt, outrage.
Yes.
Absolute outrage, because that, it was such a shock after, we had conversation, and I had been working on trying to build a rapport with Daniel. So, like I said, I can't, and the other thing is, when you're talking about the fact that, as politicians, we do deal with being misquoted. And we deal with stories that get written that are not necessarily favorable,
right?
Or something.
There's a lot of that going on right now, nationally and locally.
Right,
okay?
Something we don't agree with. But this was so outrageous, and it was so cruel. It was so cruel that it overstepped the line.
Yes.
So far, this is not my typical character.
No.
This is not a typical situation.
No.
And there's a lot that the people, what they see is what I said.
Yes.
They don't understand the story. They don't understand what led up to it.
What was it that irritated you and hurt you? What did he say?
Well,
give me an example.
First, okay, so here's the example. This whole thing started with me just posting something, do you know the signs of trafficking?
Right.
And I know that there's people that know that my sister was murdered by the Green River murderer, but they didn't know that she was trafficked. Okay. Trafficking, is my lived experience.
Yes.
Okay.
And it's a problem here in our area that we don't talk very much about.
Right.
Too.
And that's why this is so personal.
Right.
This is why, I am just so absolutely, I just can't be more disgusted. Just disgusted with what has gone on. In both of those stories that he wrote, he never once mentioned my sister. He never once mentioned my lived experience.
Because that's where your passion for this issue comes from.
Well, and understand,
right?
I can't bring Debbie back.
No.
Okay, so this isn't about me. It's not about her.
But you know what the problem is in the community.
Right. I understand the issue, and I care about the issue. And for me, what it is, understanding. I didn't, even really realize it. Not until this happened. It wasn't on my radar. I just said, "Do you know the signs of trafficking?"
For most of us,
right? And
right,
and then it just kind of went on from there, and it caused me to start asking some questions.
Right.
So I now know more about exactly what's going on. I've had an opportunity to talk to security with our airport, and the one thing is, as horrible as this is, because I'm very conflicted right now.
Right.
You know, the words that I used were hurtful, but they don't compare to the hurt that
Right.
was done to me.
Right.
So,
You made
you know,
me-
I'm sorry for, you know, for those words, and I'm conflicted because without those words,
Yeah.
that is the focus, nobody would care about these issues.
Yeah.
Nobody would be talking about trafficking. We wouldn't be talking about the media bias. And this case, this Daniel Walters Inlander,
Yeah.
this is a perfect showcase of the media bias.
Yes.
That, you know, that in our own local media,
Yeah.
I couldn't call.
Yeah.
I could not call.
I get
I
it.
ended up calling Brandy Cruz from TVW, and the reason that I called her is that I've watched her. She interviews the politicians. She's hard on us,
Right.
You know,
But fair.
But she's fair,
Yeah.
Okay, and she treats us equally.
Yeah.
So I respect that.
Yes.
And that's why I called her. I did not feel in my own Spokane town that I could call. And so I did call KHQ today.
Yes.
And, you know, talk to them a little bit about that. Part of this is that I've been getting the information together because there is more. There's text messages.
Oh, yes.
And, you know, the bottom line is we have a media right now that, you know, they hold us under a spotlight.
Yes.
Okay, and a microscope.
can't make a mistake.
So if we say something, you know, we get fact checked, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
But the media, they misquote us, you know, they get stuff wrong. And then, you know, we don't necessarily even get an apology.
Right.
If there is a retraction, it might be on the last page, if at all.
Yeah.
And it's just, you know, well, that's just how it is, you know. And I'm sitting here thinking about this, and you know, something I learned a long time ago is, especially coming from my background of domestic violence and abuse,
Right.
you teach people how to treat you.
Yeah.
So I am respectful to
Yes.
people, but I expect the same thing in return. And, you know, this, like I said, was just beyond the pale. And that's why, you know, that's why I'm conflicted, is because these issues matter.
Yes.
And, you know, and it is unfortunate that it took these words,
Right.
you know, that I know that are,
But that isn't
offensive.
That isn't you.
no, it's not me.
You know, I've never heard you
No.
say one thing like that
No,
before.
no.
So, can I ask this question? So, for an actual second or two or three, you became like the rest of us and was hurt and got upset.
It was personal.
Yeah.
And we're talking about trafficking,
Yeah.
okay?
Yeah.
We are talking about the most egregious crime
Yes.
that one person can do to another.
Right.
Where, you know, they are selling them. They're shooting them up on drugs. They can sell them over and over and over and over again. I'm sorry, that is worse than death.
Yes.
Because if you die, you don't feel anything, but with trafficking,
It's
you
an ongoing process
right. I mean,
of
it is
destruction.
it is a horrible
Yes.
thing.
Yeah. Why didn't you just wait and have Daniel call you back?
You know, like I said, adrenaline,
Yeah.
okay? Adrenaline, again, you know, we're talking about this horrific subject
Yes.
that he downplayed, that, you know, and, you know, he can say in his paper that he didn't downplay it, you know, that he didn't, you know, whatever, you know,
Well, that
there's
paper
the text
comes from a different
messages.
side.
The
Yeah.
text messages where I'm providing him proof of what it is that I'm saying,
Right.
talking about these things. And I mean, there's a point in there where I actually say, Daniel, it seems like you are downplaying
Yeah.
human trafficking. Are you? And he didn't answer me.
No.
So, and then what he does is he comes out with these articles where he doesn't even acknowledge, you know, that my sister was trafficked or that I have a real understanding of what this is.
Right.
Instead, he comes out with this cockamamie, you know, lizard people and da-da-da-da. And I'm going to point something else out there. He is going on TV still talking about this.
Yes.
Who's knowledgeable about it?
Yeah.
Who's talking about this? Him.
Yeah.
He's the one
Well,
that knows all of this. This was so innocent. Yes, I made a mistake.
Okay.
I looked this, you know, this link that I didn't realize was there. I am not perfect. We're not perfect.
No.
I care though, and
Yeah, I get that. The caring, because it's personal,
yeah,
and it's also community, because you've been a big advocate before you were representative and now.
Right.
This has been an issue that has needed attention
Right.
across the state, across the
right.
country, okay?
Safe neighborhoods matter to me, and
Yes.
it is our responsibility individually and collectively to watch out for the most vulnerable
Yes.
in our community.
Right.
And we know a lot more about trafficking
Right.
now than we ever did. And I'm going to also ask the question, when did it become such a bad thing to want to protect the people in our community, to have safe neighborhoods, and to make trafficking really uncomfortable for traffickers in
Yes,
Spokane?
yes. Can you say that you're sorry for what you did?
I can say that I am sorry for my hurtful words.
Yes, okay. Okay.
And I can say
Not for
that
taking the stand that you took,
no,
but for
there,
the way
and,
you
and,
said
and
some
I
of
do
it.
want to make it very clear
Yes.
that I am offering zero apology for standing up for human trafficking.
No, none of us
Just
should.
standing
None
up
of it.
against
We
it.
should all be
We
advocates
should
to stop
all
that.
be advocates.
Yeah.
This is on us.
Yes.
And I've taken a public stand, and I'm sorry. It's
Well,
long overdue.
unfortunately, the media in this town is becoming a bit like the national media. Okay, you look at the local newscasts are about half or less viewers than they had 15 years ago. Okay, some stations are very left wing. They're repeating things on their Facebook pages that are from CNN and others without really understanding what they're passing on. And it's probably actually done from New York and not even locally, because they're all interconnected these days. It's tough out there. I haven't looked at an inlander for a year or more. Only when you and some other people send me an article, like one that I was in, quoted by Daniel,
Right.
when I said, I'll be happy to interview with you, but in my venue where we can tape it.
Right.
And honestly,
this is
what you need to do these days, because
Right. Lesson
then when you're
learned.
misquoted, you can go back and say, look, folks, this isn't what I said.
Right.
And so that's what he quoted me from, was that, no, Kent wouldn't
well,
do.
and that's not a bad thing.
No.
So,
You got to protect yourself these days, because
right.
they're after us.
So I think this is something else that's
Yeah.
important, that I genuinely was trying to work on building a relationship,
Yeah.
building trust.
Yeah.
With Daniel, and that trust was broken,
Yeah.
and it shows so clearly in these messages. There's zero doubt about that.
Yeah. Well, just this morning, from my part, I unsubscribed from the Spokesman Review because of one columnist there that I'm so tired of seeing, Sean Vestal, in his articles. He's a columnist, not a reporter, and I get that. I understand the difference. And quite frankly, because last Friday was the 19th anniversary of 9/11, and not one mention that I saw in the paper on that day. I mean, where is civility here today? This was something that affected our entire country 19 years ago. People lost their lives. You can go back, people were upset with the bombing of Pearl Harbor. At least the Japanese in those days attacked military, not civilians like they did in New York
Right.
19 years
Right.
ago. And I'm just tired of some of the unthinking local reporters. Most of them are too young to understand the context anyway.
Right.
Okay. And left-wing news directors at one station I can think of in town, and I'm not going to mention them. And so that's where things are coming. And so I get the angst that you had and the wanting. I don't know how many times my wife has said, no, don't write them tonight,
Right.
Sitting there at night watching the
Right.
newscasts and
Right.
so forth. I get it totally.
Right.
But then they just use it against
Right.
you.
Well, see, and that's what I'm saying. With my background,
Yeah.
trust is it's hard.
Yeah,
It is so hard. But
yes.
if you don't work past that, that's a lonely life. So sometimes you take that chance,
Right.
and sometimes it works out fine.
Right.
Other times it is one of the most painful
Yeah.
experiences
I,
that you
I can't
will go
imagine.
through.
I can't imagine. I really
And,
can't.
I think that as tragic as this is, I guess I'm Jenny. I'm me.
Yeah.
And, where other people see something that is really horrific, and again, the words were bad, but I see opportunity.
Yeah. To raise
I see
awareness.
opportunity. I had a great conversation with the producer from KHQ.
Okay.
And I was honest with her. This is what happened. And I said, something is broken.
Yeah.
You have an elected official that did not feel that they would be treated fairly here. And I said, we have an opportunity now to do something.
Yeah.
So out of this horrible thing, and that's my personality, I will other people will turn around and walk away.
Yeah.
Okay. They'll be quiet. Jenny she's social, and I talk about these hard issues. I'm not afraid of it. I am fearless and I'm tenacious.
At one point, you said you're going to sue the inlander. Is that still on your?
I can't talk about that right now.
Oh, okay.
There's things that, are still unfolding and I'm watching.
Okay.
So
Okay.
we're just going to leave it at that.
I get that. I get that. I'm looking at a quote from your Facebook. Hey, Daniel Walters. I don't know why I want to call him something different, but anyway, I wonder if these kidnapped victims would agree with your stand that abductions don't happen and that they're really Hollywood hype. Mm-hmm. Do you remember doing that? Mm-hmm. Okay. What can we tell Daniel today to...
So, again, with these posts, there, is genuine outrage.
Yes.
Because trafficking is not something to joke about.
No.
It is not something to downplay. It is not something to weaponize, which is exactly what he did. So those posts are me saying, these are real people.
Does he just think it's not really happening?
I can't speak for him.
Okay.
Okay. And again, we are different people.
Yeah.
Okay. Daniel does not have my lived experience.
No.
He doesn't. So I don't think, can feel what I feel.
Right.
And I can't fault him for that.
Okay.
What I fault him for is that I took the time to talk to him.
Right.
And, he asked about recording. I said, go ahead. I don't have anything to hide on this. And what I have said, whether it's on Facebook, whether it's there, whether it's I'm talking to your face on these issues, I'm consistent with.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
It is genuine care for people. And what he did was he took those things, and even though I talked to him, even though I said, here's even why I'm telling you these things. Okay. I'm providing him things. He just ignores it, downplays it, and then just prints what he wants. And that's exactly what I was talking to Brandy Cruz about. I said, if you're a doctor and you do something, there's discipline. You're a lawyer, there's discipline. But I said, with the media, there's not.
There's freedom of the press.
There's not. That's
Yes.
right. And I said, this is a huge problem. I am 100% for freedom of the press.
Right.
100%.
Right.
Free, free speech, all of that. But when they take an issue
But be truthful.
like this and weaponize it
Yeah.
to deliberately hurt me, and he can't say that he didn't, because if that wasn't on his mind, why would he have called my opponent? Why was this an issue when I said, look, Daniel, I laughed at him.
Yeah.
I was like, are you serious?
Yeah.
And so what does he do? He, and don't even get me going about the opponent as far as this goes.
I don't want to go there.
Because there's rocks that are, getting thrown and stuff that's
Yeah.
being alleged with, where are you getting this from? And it's mean-spirited, which I haven't responded with.
Right.
But I do take that personally, when him and Daniel are spinning this thing that Representative Graham doesn't take COVID seriously.
Yeah.
She's irresponsible. In other words, I want to see people die. I'm sorry, that is absolutely insulting.
Yeah.
And it couldn't be further from the truth. I'm looking at the full picture
Right.
that they're not looking at. And, that's what I'm supposed to do. I'm supposed to listen to everybody.
Right.
I'm supposed to get as much information as I can to try to make the best decision that I can make. And if more information comes, you reassess it. But what you don't do is, say that, well, this part of this matters, but I could care less about this.
Right.
And that's what's happened. And it's really sad. I am absolutely on board, in favor of doing whatever we have to do to get through COVID.
Yes.
And, to give our doctors as much, tools as possible
Yeah.
to
But
save as many lives as we can.
Well, I think we all want that, but we also know that it's become political.
Well, and that
We have a
again,
governor that has really
right.
led it that.
But I
that way.
have
Yeah.
not. I have not succumbed to that.
Yeah.
And the reason again that I say this is I don't treat my constituents any differently than I treat my family.
Okay.
I have a husband and a mother that are very high risk.
Right.
I care about this issue.
Right.
You better believe that I have really been researching it.
Yeah.
And when I see that there are eyewitness accounts of people that have been in this position, and nobody, especially me, is saying that there's 100% guarantee on any therapy or
No.
medicine that you decide to do. Doctors don't have crystal balls.
No.
So what they do is they use their knowledge to assess you. They use their knowledge of what the therapy or the medicine is, and they say, okay, well, I think this is probably a good place
Right.
for us to start.
Well, we've never been able to prevent all the flu. And how many
Yeah.
years, how many seasons have we been doing that?
Right,
I mean,
right.
there is no perfect cure for
Right.
anything.
Right.
Life happens.
Right.
Unfortunately, death happens. I understand. I've got a wife that has heart problems and needs to be very careful. I have a son who's Down syndrome who needs to be careful out there and so
Right.
forth. So I understand what it's like when you talk about
Right.
family and,
So,
and we all
and
have
if
friends.
she got sick,
Yeah.
would there be anything that you wouldn't do?
No.
To try to help her
Right.
get well.
Absolutely.
Stop her, from at the worst case dying.
Right. Right.
Again, this is what it is that I'm looking at, and I absolutely support the right to try, the right to choose,
Yes.
and I don't believe the government should be making
I
that
know.
decision. They
I
have
know.
no right doing
I've
that.
said that for years, that some of these trial medicines, they've got to go through the trials and everything
Mm-hmm.
else. Honestly, if you're at a point where it's life or death, I think we should be able to try things. What do
Right.
you have to lose?
Right.
Right.
And what's the difference between going through the trials for the vaccines?
Yes.
Which I'm not against. I
Right.
am vaccinated. My kids are vaccinated. My dogs are vaccinated.
Yeah.
I'm not anti-vaccine.
Right.
What I am is a mom and a legislator that cares for my people.
Right.
I'm watching out for them because I understand that we're in a real precarious situation right now, which we are hopefully going to get something, but I just want to be careful that they're not going to cut corners, because it's not going to hurt the government.
Right.
It's not going to hurt that pharmaceutical company. It's going to affect the people that I care about.
But we also have a couple of viruses out there, and the second one is our economic virus.
Right.
That
Right.
And most of our sponsors are small business.
Right.
And I've talked to way too
Right.
many that are on the verge and have been on the
Right.
verge, and we all know of those who have
Right.
closed down.
Right.
We have to have a reasonable approach to this.
Right.
And if you're vulnerable, like my wife is, or your mom and things like that, we have to take those precautions.
Right.
Okay, I'm at the age at 74 that I'm in that upper
Mm-hmm.
class too, okay? I'm careful. I wash my hands constantly and those kinds of things. But we also can't stop living
No.
too, okay?
No. This is not going away. We are going to have to learn to function with it, and we can.
Yes.
We absolutely have already been doing.
Yeah.
We've already been functioning with the big box stores and other things. So
Yeah.
there are
But
some.
what about
some-
the little guys and gals
Okay,
that
so
try to run their
and again,
businesses?
I have been publicly stepping up
Yes.
to fight that battle as
Okay.
well, because one of the main problems that I see, and I have been vocal about this, is that the numbers that I'm seeing are not accurate.
Yeah.
They're not accurate. And I have been calling, for a change
Yep.
as far as if this is a COVID death versus a comorbidity death,
Yeah.
do not put those two together.
Right,
Okay?
right.
Separate them out. Same thing with hospitalizations.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to disagree. If you're sick and you need to be hospitalized, that is a COVID hospitalization.
We have it on good source from those in the medical field and hospitals. We've been told a number of times that they're better off when they can list it as a COVID death. There's more money that comes and everything else that goes with
Right,
it.
but it's
so we know that's
hurting
happening.
us. And,
yes, it is. Of course it
and
is.
so we have this vicious circle that's going on.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying corruption, that type of thing.
No.
What I'm saying is these hospitals, they've been put in this position where you got to pay your bills, but we're not letting you do the work that you were
Right.
you'd be able to do to pay
Right.
your bills.
Right.
This is where you come to the table. This is where you bring everybody to the table, not just a few people.
Right.
And we talk about what are the problems
As a community.
right, and what are solutions moving forward. And I believe without a shadow of a doubt that if we can get those numbers correct,
Yeah.
where they actually go through and they say, okay, this one, there's a problem with this.
Yeah.
Let's do something positive so that the people can trust us.
Right.
They can say, okay, you've gone through, this is how you've collected it, this is how you cataloged it, this is how now you've tabulated it, so we can trust it and, work together and get our businesses, our schools, and move forward to thrive again.
So
from COVID.
let me sum up with this because I want to be mindful of the time and so forth. And you regret some of the language that you used with Daniel, okay?
Right.
You've said that,
Right.
okay?
Yeah.
And I think we all would do that. Honestly, don't blame you for saying that because you catch his attention and so forth. Unfortunately, others tend to use that against you.
They will.
They would
They will.
against me as well,
Right.
okay?
And, let me just address this really quick.
Yeah.
Okay. Given what it is that you've said, again, not my best moment.
No.
Not a human moment, rookie moment, Yeah.
But I'm not in the spotlight like you are.
Right.
I'm not running for office, and so are
Right.
others.
So
we
I'm-
all have those moments,
Right.
okay?
Right. But I'm going to ask the question, though.
Yeah.
If there is genuine outrage for what
Look
I
into
said,
the issue.
for what I said or how I said it, I want you to take a look at what I said versus if you were watching,
Yeah.
okay, a human trafficked victim
Yeah.
that's being shot up with drugs, that's being raped, that's being abused, and you put
Yeah.
those two together, and I'm going to ask you which one of those is going to outrage you more.
Yeah. It's a clear answer. It's a clear answer, absolutely clear answer. We've had people on in the past from the Jonah Project and so forth, and the stories they tell are despicable.
Mm-hmm.
And it's hard to sit down with them without tearing up and listening
Right.
to what especially these girls go through and so
Right.
forth.
And,
we
and,
need
and I
to
can
address
tell
it
you
as
from where I'm at on public safety,
Yeah.
We do not have balance in our justice system.
Yeah.
We do not have equality when it comes to funding for crime victims.
Yeah.
And I'm I'm the loudest voice. I am the most assertive voice for saying, look, we need to have some balance.
Yeah.
And I think this is going to shine the light on, we can adjust some things. I'm going to work. There's some things now that I have a couple of sessions under my belt.
Right.
There's some things now that I'm going to have available to me.
It takes a while to learn the system, doesn't
Right.
it? Yeah.
Right. Get working on the mental health, working on
Right.
who's who and what do you have to do to, do here. And, when it comes to some of these other issues, like trafficking that we're talking
Yes.
about, I just saw a law where there was in a different state that they passed that if you are caught trafficking somebody in a semi-truck, they take your license away permanently.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
So that means a lot of those people just drive without a license.
Well, that could be true.
We know what's going to happen out there because if
Right.
you're a criminal, you're a criminal, unfortunately.
but
because,
that comes back again to
Yeah.
our community.
Yes.
And do we mean it? When
Well, some in this community just want to walk in the jail and walk back out.
Right.
And not be held responsible. Okay. Have you apologized to Daniel?
I have not. I have
Okay.
want to do it personally.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
So
That's good.
we are going to get there.
Okay.
But like I said, this was not good timing.
No.
Not with him going on TV, not with the stuff that's going on.
Well, he wouldn't have gone on TV if it
Yeah.
hadn't been for you.
Right, and not, not with the other side not
Yeah.
being out.
Yeah.
I think that there is lessons to be learned all the way around.
Yep.
If we're going to be honest.
Yep.
I think that it's opportunity all the way around.
Well, let's see if the other side comes up and starts talking about this awful trafficking problem.
I hope so.
And what to do, okay?
Yeah.
Here's an opportunity
This is
for
something-
you and your
it
opponent to
should
be together
right.
on something.
This is
Yes.
It doesn't care what color you are. It
No.
doesn't.
No.
It doesn't care.
Or if you're an
rich,
attorney.
poor, it does not care. It's
Yeah.
about money.
Yeah.
And period.
Yes, it is.
So this is something that should be bringing us together, and I believe that it can. I believe that with my whole heart.
Well, let's hope that from now on it leads to something positive and we can stop some of this awful stuff going on.
Right.
Not just in our community, again, I'll say it.
Right.
It's across the
It
country.
takes
but
time.
it
It's
does.
not gonna
It
happen
does.
as fast
I
as
know
we want.
Ozzy is very on top of it. I believe Craig is too, from the Spokane Police Department. I know they're putting things out there, a hotline and other things
Right.
to really bring the focus and so forth. And we'll keep on it here because, frankly, there's nothing more despicable than abusing other human beings
Right.
that are vulnerable.
And there's nothing more loving
Yeah.
than us watching out again
Yeah.
as a community
Yes.
for our most vulnerable.
Yeah.
And I am so committed to that.
Okay.
So
Good, good.
Thank you,
Thank
Ken.
you for being here. Thanks for opening and being so very open and honest today. I know that was not easy for you, with all that you've had to go through the last couple of days. But chin up and move forward, and let's make this issue more important than ever in our community.
right.
Thanks for watching this Pulse of Spokane, everybody. Have a great day.
This is Loomsday in Spokane. We got about 40 firefighters and their friends and family handing out 40,000 cups of water as the day goes by.
It's a very good opportunity to see the public and support them and help them out and cheer them on during Bloomsday.
It's one of the best things about Spokane is that we have these major events and the whole community comes together not just to participate but to volunteer and show that they really care about our city and making our city look great.
This type of an event really is emblematic of Spokane because so many people get involved. We have 50,000 people probably running this race. Always has been a very huge event.
Right now we're at the corner of Broadway and Nettleton. It's the last water station before the finish, so people are pretty much dehydrated by the time they get to us. They really need our water.
The water stations are a vital part, especially on warm days like today. It's real important that we have the volunteers to help with that. Without the volunteers, Bloomsday wouldn't exist.
All up and down the course, there are people that are involved in this celebration. It really is a celebration of what Spokane's all about.
Welcome to Apex Plaza, Spokane's one-stop cannabis destination. Apex Cannabis features thousands of economy, value, and luxury cannabis products. Cannagear features hemp-based CBD products, glass, goods, and gear. Stop by 1325 North Division to experience the Apex difference.
This product has intoxicating effects and may be habit-forming. Marijuana can impair concentration, coordination, and judgment. Do not operate a vehicle or machinery under the influence of this drug. There may be health risk associated with the consumption of this product. For use only by adults 21 and older. Keep out of the reach of children.
The economy is getting stronger. Banks are lending again, and interest rates are at historic lows. Now is a great time to buy your dream home. The caring and knowledgeable professionals at Homes for You have been helping people just like you for over 20 years. They take the time to listen to what you want and will help you find just the right home in Washington or Idaho. Real estate is what we do at Homes for You, 928-5782, or visit online at homes4uspokane.com.
Thanks for watching. Ask the host a question, recommend a guest, or check out any of our other programs on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or SpokaneTalksMedia.com. Sponsored by Local 29 Firefighters Union, Well Dressed Walrus, and Homes for You.